Hey, Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Storytime series. If you have a story that you would like to share with the community, please email me at exoticalsunited@gmail.com because I'm glad that we finally get to control our own narrative instead of allowing unambiguous women to always speak for us. So if you have any stories of colorism, texturism, featureism, or pretty girl problems, you can go ahead and send them over. But this pretty girl says, "Hello, EU. I love your channel and I relate heavily on your talking points. I have some photos of myself, and I'm completely fine with you using them for your content in this story time. I work at a small doctor's office doing easy front desk work. I love dressing up my uniform and looking cute at work. I get a lot of attention from people while on the job about my jewelry, locks, light eye color, etc. I'm in shape, a natural size 2, and I'm a happy person in general. My female coworkers roll their eyes or smack their crusty lips when I get compliments in front of them. I have two coworkers who are unambiguous dark-skinned black women. I also have a white male coworker. I naturally get along with the white male, who I will call Mr. Joe for this story time, better than the two unambiguous dark-skinned black women. I used to have conversations with all three of my coworkers until the girls started giving me the cold shoulder. Now I don't talk to either of the girls anymore. Here's what happened. Mr. Joe used to do potlucks at work, but he would always give me first dibs or have extras for me. He had a crush on me and everyone knew it. I was in a relationship with my now fiance at the time and I told him that. Mr. Joe still gave me better treatment than my other two coworkers. He asked if I needed anything when making a run. I would say no, but he'll bring me a free milkshake or something anyway. The two unambiguous dark-skinned black women would say things like, "Mr. Joe is too old to have a crush on you." Or they'll say, "Does he know you have a boyfriend?" But they would laugh it off like it was a joke. I knew they just wanted the special treatment I was getting. Unambiguous dark-skinned black woman number 1, I will call her Miss Miserable. Miss Miserable is an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman with very low self-esteem. She's messing around with a married man who doesn't respect her and offers her nothing but a headache. She has 2 kids by a different man who passed away from an overdose. Miss Miserable used to complain to me about how depressed she is and how her married boyfriend is putting her through hell. She would literally cry tears to me and vent about how she hasn't been happy for years. I used to empathize with her until it became like a broken record. She never took any of my advice, so I stopped caring. The next time she tried to vent to me about how her married boyfriend is still not divorced from his wife and still giving her a headache, I just said, okay. She could tell that I was becoming tired of the same sad story over and over again. Miss Miserable continues to cry, yell, and argue with her married boyfriend on her cell phone at work to this day. I distanced myself from her, being that she is not my kind of company. Unambiguous dark-skinned black woman number 2, I'll call her Big Mama. Big Mama is nosy, loud, and untrustworthy. I thought she was neutral until I saw Miss Miserable and Big Mama stop talking when I walked in. The tension was unsettling. One day, Big Mama and Miss Miserable would both notice my engagement ring. They acted happy for me, but I could tell it wasn't genuine. They saw my new car that my fiance got for me when I started driving to work. I used to take the bus. Also, I moved from my downtown apartment into a beautiful house that my fiance and I share. With each level up, both Miss Miserable and Big Mama started to become more visibly envious. I would hear petty remarks they made about me having a nerd fiance, me being too skinny, Big Mama was obese by the way, or why I am wearing heels to work. Over time, I would hate being around them. It was bringing me down, and I wasn't in my best mood around them. I was going to transfer to a different office to get away from them, but your channel helped me see that they're jealous of my beauty and my life. They were jealous of my joy. I couldn't ever let myself become like them. Angry, bitter, never smiling, unpleasant to be around. I no longer want to leave my job. Instead, I stay flexing my beauty, unproblematic lifestyle, and happiness. I keep it cute, keep my distance, focus on myself, and pay them dust. I still get along with Mr. Joe just fine anyway. So thank you, EU, and to all of your supporters for your channel. It truly helped me to refocus and not minimize my joy, accomplishments, beauty, or lifestyle. I will most certainly stay pretty and happy. Yeah, I'm not surprised about the unambiguous woman being with a married man. I've just noticed in the black community, there is definitely an obsession with stealing people's men, or, I mean, I don't even believe in that, but I've noticed in the black community, they have this talking point where it's like, oh, I'm going to steal your man or I'm going to take your man. And I've literally seen women in the black community bragging about being side chicks to these random married guys, and they'll talk about how, oh, this man, he likes me more, and then the guy, he never leaves, he never divorces his wife. So really the guy is the one that wins in the end, because he's getting free access to these two different he's benefiting from two different women in different ways. And notice how their insult of this exotical, it's always male centered. They'll say something like, oh, well, he's too old to have a crush on you, you're too young for him. Or they randomly bring up their proximity to men because they're comparing it to hers. So notice how she said she's getting married, and then the unambiguous woman talked about how she was sleeping with a guy who's married. So sometimes people, in order to downplay your relationship status, they will talk about how, they're sleeping with a guy who's just like yours. Or in her case, she said that they called her fiance a nerd. Meanwhile, they love nerds. They love white male nerds. They love Hispanic nerds. They love Indian nerds. But then suddenly, when it's an exotical, maybe she got married and the guy is nerdy, suddenly, oh, it's bad. And it's like, what is she supposed to do? Is this exotical? Is she supposed to be with a thug? Is she supposed to be with a rapper? Like, what's wrong with her choosing some guy that's a nerd? And another dynamic I've noticed too is that for whatever reason, a lot of women in Blackistan, they're jealous when you receive male favoritism. So even if you don't like this guy, even if it's just like a boss at work, a male boss that's nice to you or something, they're watching you like a hawk. Has anybody noticed that? It's always women with inferiority complexes who are studying how men interact with you, even if you're not thinking about those men, even if you've decentered men, even if you're already married or you're about to be married. They don't care. They want to know, how does she get treated in comparison to me? And one difference with exoticals is, depending on the workplace, we do receive favoritism. And also, I thought that we all got treated exactly the same. I thought that you're still an N-word to the white man. But here you have proof that that's not true. So that's why I feel like as an exotical, you do receive favoritism both in and outside of the black community. I think as long as you know your hater archetype, you'll know what type of workplaces to avoid. So, for example, a lot of women who are extremely bitter and angry and hateful, they do tend to work in fields like healthcare, administration, HR, customer service, or at least that's where a lot of my hater archetype is. So that's very important to think about as well. Like, what work fields have a lot of haters in it? What work fields have had the most like negative experiences? Another thing is the city that you work in. What geographical locations have your biggest hater archetype? For example, in my case, there's a reason why I don't live in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's no shade to Atlanta as a whole. Like, I actually like the city. But when I was in college, I noticed that for whatever reason, my hater archetype at my particular college, they did happen to be women from Atlanta. And so I recognize that pattern. I feel like it's very important for exoticals to have good pattern recognition, because that's going to help you to realize, okay, who's my hater archetype? Where do I get a pedestal? So, luckily for this exotical, she gets a pedestal amongst non black doctors. That's where she gets treated the best. Or, that's where she gets like a sense of favoritism. Also, notice how she said that the doctor gave her first dibs on the potluck, and then like the beluga unambiguous women got jealous. How much of a food addict are you to the point where you're jealous of a woman because what? She gets first dibs at the potluck? Like, are you that much of a big back to where you're jealous of this exotical getting access to food? But another thing I try to do too is I'll hide my lifestyle. I try to not flaunt my lifestyle as much as possible. I try to hide the details of my lifestyle as much as possible. In fact, I might even actively downplay my money, or, like, I will literally pretend I'm poor if necessary. I don't care if people think I'm poor or broke. So I tend not to talk about like where I live. I don't usually invite people over to my place at all. And I know this exotical didn't do that, but I'm just saying that's a protective mechanism that I use. I don't tend to invite people over if I don't know them very well. I don't tend to even tell people what neighborhood I live in until I get to know them a little bit because people do pedestalize my neighborhood in particular. And I definitely don't tell people that I don't know that I'm a full time content creator or, so if you have any job or anything that could trigger a lot of jealousy, and you're around women who are your hater archetype. So in this girl's case, it's the big mama type, kind of this Medea archetype, that's her hater archetype. And this kind of the dusty side chick or whatever, that's also her hater archetype. So that's the first thing that I examine. Whenever I meet somebody new, I examine, is she my hater archetype? What kind of stuff does she talk about? What kind of hobbies does she have? Does she have a dusty lifestyle? Because if so, that means I can't tell her any details about my life because she's not used to being around non dusty women. So I will withhold as many details as possible. And I think it was smart that this exotical was taking the bus as well. I've worked jobs in the past where I just walk to work. So nobody really knows, they may not know exactly where I live, or they may just assume that I'm broke or something if I'm walking to work. I'd rather have people assume that I'm broke. I'd rather have them assume that I'm a failure or that I'm struggling. That actually works in my favor. I like it when people assume that I'm struggling. That's good because then that means I can freely go behind their back and just be successful. They're not gunning for me at that point because they think that I'm just struggling. They think I'm at the bottom with them or whatever. So I like to use that to my advantage. Something I also love to do is saving money while telling others that I don't have money. It's not that I don't have money, it's that I just don't want to spend my money right here with you. So that's a diabolical tactic that you can use for the exoticals. Just lie. Just lie. Make them think that you're dusty. Make them think you have nothing going for you. Make them think that you're basic just like them. Or just don't talk about your personal life. Or if necessary, just tell straight up lies. Just straight up lie. Oh, yeah, I'm struggling right now too. Struggling to do what? To become a millionaire? You don't have to tell her that that's really what the struggle is, but just you can always pretend. That will throw off your enemies. Because remember, nobody's going to start gunning for you if they truly think you're beneath them. So I actually love using that reverse psychology to my advantage, letting people think that they have me all figured out. Letting people think that my beauty is fake or that I've had plastic surgery or I wear weaves or whatever. Letting people accuse me of random stuff. Letting people think that I'm not authentic or that, I'm a bleacher or whatever it is. I don't mind people thinking negative things because somebody looking down upon you, that greatly works to your advantage. Because now you're free. Now you're free to literally just go on and live your life. And another thing too, another diabolical tactic is blocking people on social media, blocking coworkers, making sure that they can't see your social media. If you have a business page, like let's say you have some sort of Etsy shop or like an Instagram jewelry business or something, blocking your coworkers so that they can't see any of your level up. So moving in silence, basically. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.